Everyone to our Planning Commission meeting for November the 28th, 2023. Since there's nobody here, we won't ask for,
Public comment?
I'm getting ahead of myself. Everyone is here, of our commissioners, with the exception of Ken Anderson, Rick Herman, and Wanda Nye, who have been excused. And we will pass by public comment since the public didn't come. Presentations and reports, Mr. Eggett.
Thank you. Right out the gate, I wanted to note something I didn't note upstairs. I just realized Napa Auto Parts is still moving forward. They're working through their building permit. It's been issued. Like I think I indicated in previous meetings, they're going in the space between LL Flooring and Zerkers, that leftover space by In and Out. So that's where they're going, continuing to move forward there. And then I noted Ashley is progressing. Their facade's starting to go on, facade treatment, and they're still taking their time inside, but they are moving forward. Across the way, I noted Chuck E. Cheese has submitted a building permit for the space directly adjacent to America Freight in the old Bed Bath and Beyond building. And then there are some things that are some groups looking at the old R.C. Willey building. I noted around the corner. Tesla, they're continuing to work forward. The power corridor for the West Bench is moving forward, and AFCU has come into the city and also met with UDOT on a large master road plan concept based on some traffic studies that they've done. They are very, very different than the current system and will change the look of that area and the way that area is accessed, including 4400. So if they were to be approved. Now, to that, I remember when I was upstairs and I said I forgot something. I know what it is now. Part of 4400 is a bridge widening project that they're doing, both for the overpass of I-15 and the underpass of 84. We are, as a city, specifically Sean Douglas, Steve Brooks, a little bit of our engineer, and our leadership being the mayor and such, it at odds in an opinion or difference of opinion on how wide the underpass 84 should be and what that should look like. They want to do just a simple kind of similarly narrow reconstruction, and we're saying that no, you need to widen that. It right now already feels narrow enough, and there's some issues even with that. So we're still having those conversations. But from what Sean said even today, the plan is for the overpass to be 4 lanes going over I-15 and then 3 lanes going under 84. That's the intent right now. So, but the
3 lanes each direction?
3, so 2,
total. So
1 each, and then a turn lane.
Oh, a turn lane.
Now, I'm taking that back. Sorry, that's AFCU's concept. Now that I say that, I retract my comment. Sorry, that's not part of UDOT's. UDOT is basically rebuilding the bridges to withstand for up to 50 years. That's what that's UDOT's intent with their bridge funding, like they've been doing all across the state of Utah. So I retract that. That what I told you about the 4 and 3 was something that America First was trying to present.
Okay.
So, but the reason that there's a challenge is, like I said, UDOT and the underpass 84 is going fairly narrow, and if our public works director doesn't feel like it's adequate and it needs to be wider, that should be something that's concerned. So just know that UDOT is trying to use, I believe it's some kind of federal funding for bridge repairs, and they're under certain timelines. They're trying to move aggressively. I think their goal is to have the project going by next summer. I think that's what Sean said for both of those bridges. But again, we're in a contention with them mostly on the underpass. That being said, one thing I thought was interesting that you should know, especially as it starts to happen, if and when it starts to happen, Sean did say they would build a brand new bridge. So the road alignment of 4400 would shift a little bit to the north permanently, and then they would eventually knock down the old bridge, which is kind of interesting. So they would actually change the way that 4400 connects to a new bridge. Like it would angle a little differently. And they do own a triangular parcel just north of the current roundabout. So they would move into that space as they built that bridge and then connect into it that way. So I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So is UDOT's plan to keep the lanes as is? But
currently.
the city, especially considering America First coming in with additional traffic.
I-
America First,
Yeah, I
or
think
some of each would like to see those
Yeah.
widened more.
Yeah, I think what Sean's thought process is if they widen it enough to create shoulders on both sides, then if they need to eventually widen the rights of way in the future to accommodate America First, we all have that option. But UDOT is kind of coming at it very narrow view and just like, no, we're just going to put back 2 lanes, but make them wider and more secure and better fit with new bridge supports, if you want to call it that, or new shore embankment for the bridges. But that's very narrow-minded in light of America First coming. But UDOT doesn't want to hear it because they already got the designs, and so that's where some of that
They've had a
breakdown's
lot of
coming from.
designs.
Yeah, that's where some of that conversation's coming from.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, maybe I've gone into a little more than I need to, but I think that you should be aware because residents will probably start asking you in the council what's going on with some of these things, especially if it's within the next 8 months or so, 6 months or so. So, yeah, that's all. That's all I have. I think I've said enough.
Do you expect that those plans will kind of be finalized?
They're working on it. Sean, I think he said within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's why time is of the essence for us to push back and try to get them to revise it. So it's kind
That
of
makes sense.
we're doing some political navigation to try to fix this from
Okay.
our end.
Okay, consent items. For the October 24th, 2023 work session and regular meeting, we had a short time to look at them. Would anyone like to make a motion considering these to either accept them or table them maybe till a later date so we'd have more time to consider them?
I'd like to make a motion to table those minutes to our December 12th meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. And that is unanimous. For the November 14th work session and regular meeting consent items, do we have a motion or our comment?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to also table the November 14th work session and regular session meetings until our
December
Next.
12th.
till the December 12th.
Okay, we're going to do both. Okay, all in favor? Oh, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay, as well. Action items. Review and discussion of proposed updates to Title 10, Chapter 21 subdivisions ordinances found in Riverdale City Code. Mr. Eggett?
Thank you. I didn't get to go into the. Oh, did I turn that off? Yes, I did. I didn't get into the mechanics of it, but if you're curious what the mechanics are, I followed very closely that report from Utah League of Cities and Towns, the third document in there in your packet, suggested guidelines to comply with it. So you can look at those specifically, like even some of the definitions of what a review cycle is and the 4 terms of what a review cycle is. What is an administrative land use authority? Who is an who can be an administrative land use authority representative? Those sorts of things. Clearly, Planning Commission is named currently as one of those. So, and then you'll see like the timelines as far as how does a pre-application work? How does the submittals work? One thing to note on pre-application, which is a little deviation from our current standard, it's no longer something you can require. It's something you can optionally recommend, but the developer is under no obligation to have it. The reason that that's not good from our perspective is usually pre-application, they bring in some kind of a conceptual drawing and plans, including a basic utility plan, and you can discuss informally. But if they just come in and cold turkey say, I just want to go to your planning commission, I don't want you to tell me anything kind of thing, it puts more, I guess, responsibility on the planning commission to vet even more thoroughly. So what you may see in future reports, the reason I'm telling you this, is you may say the applicant opted to not have a pre-application review. That is my way of signaling to the planning commission to scrutinize it even more closely based on reporting comments because they didn't want to sit down with us and have that discussion. So, so that's what that I do want to note that. But I'm going to strongly encourage, like, this is really to your benefit to have a good project. So you should do this kind of thing. And again, we are only talking single family, twin family, or duplex and townhome subdivisions. Anything that's 3 home or more it'll go through the old standard system, which would be pre-application, city council, or planning commission, city council. Now that I think about it, I might have to do one more tweak to the code. I have to make sure that pre-application still is required or expected for multifamily, but not the others. So I might have to tweak that too. But anyway, that's something that I'll have to look at tomorrow and fix. So if it's not written that way, just know that's probably how I'm going to fix it, so that pre-application still is a requirement for multifamily. It just can't be for the others. I don't know if I have it written that way right now, so I'll tweak that tomorrow. And then obviously, the procedural for preliminary and final. There's another kind of key feature that I want the planning commission to be aware of, and you can see it in the packet if you've read over what I wrote, but they call it the 4-review shot clock. It's kind of a weird term, but that's what, how it was presented to the cities. It's a shot clock. So the way it works is the developer submits, the city reviews. That first review is 1 of 4. If the developer fully complies and responds to everything and addresses everything, and they submit again, staff gets another round, a second round, third, and then the fourth has to be final. No matter what position it's in by the fourth, it basically has to be approved or denied. And then if it's denied, then it gives the applicant developer the opportunity to then go through a appeal process with the appeal authority for the city. So basically, they can then start their legal claim and go through their administrative review process to eventually work their way to a formal claim with the court if it leads to that point. So I think what they were saying before in the past is that some cities, they'd get in these weird cycles where they'd never get out of a review cycle, and they'd always get stuck. And no city would say, well, it could be on your 6th or 8th or 10th review, and there's nothing to say it has to move forward. This forces all the cities to eventually jettison the project out, whether they want to deny it or approve it. That's their only option. We in Riverdale have been good. I don't know that we've been in a position like that. It usually, at worst case, goes through 3 or 4 reviews and it gets out. But it's basically from the day that the subdivision is submitted for preliminary review to the end, it's 4. And they said, like, cities have the option where they could do 2 in preliminary and 2 in final. I just have it written concurrently 4 throughout the process because it usually works that way for us. An absent issue, and I figure if it ever gets to a point where it doesn't, we have a pretty good appeal authority being Craig Hall. So, and he's pretty irrational and reasonable. In fact, I was in an appeal with him, and he sided with the applicant. So there you go. It does happen that he looks at both sides of it. So, and it was on a minor issue, but still, the point is that he's good that way. And he used to be a state ombudsman, so he knows how to look at both sides of it. So anyway. And then there's some stuff in there about, fee structure and that sort of thing as well. So with that, and then the cleanups, matching better our policies and processes. I've done that. The code is definitely more complicated than it was before because it used to have just a very streamlined, if you have a subdivision, this is the process. Now it's got a bifurcated behavior, right? If you have a subdivision that's this category, this is the process, but all these other categories, this is the process. So that's how the subdivision code is now written. And so hopefully it reads that way. But the first few sections are for single family, twin home, townhome, and then the latter or the midsection is multifamily and commercial subdivisions. And then at the end, it's the design standards and expectations for all subdivisions. So it's kind of almost 4 pieces because you kind of got definitions and introduction, single family, twin home, townhome, multifamily, commercial, and then development requirements for everything is how it's organized now. And then obviously there's a little bit of cleanup at the end of it, with like penalties and some of that stuff that just generally apply to everything. So that's the long and short of it. I didn't get to go into it upstairs, but there you go. If you have any other thoughts, questions, ideas, feel free to let me know. Or if you read over it and you catch anything, you want to send something my way, either just question it or whatever, let me know, and I'll try to address it best I can. And like I said, it will go through our attorney that's been selected by the state of Utah to review these, and I'll get his feedback as well to tighten things up that way. I'm hopeful, crossing my fingers, that I've done my job in matching up everything correctly, but you never know. I'd rather it be right and protect the city than have any of my own pride involved in, no, that's not right kind of thing. I just want it right. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep, that's
Thanks
it.
for all you do, Mike.
Yep, you're
Yes,
welcome.
It is
it's
appreciated.
a lot. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, then consideration to set a public hearing for proposed updates to Title 10, Chapter 21 subdivisions ordinance is found in the Riverdale City Code as requested by the Community Development Department and required by the state of Utah. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I will. I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing for Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, for proposed updates to Title 10, Chapter 21 subdivisions ordinance as found in the Riverdale City Code as requested by the Community Development Department and required by the state of Utah.
I second.
Would you poll our commission, please, Michelle?
Commissioner Eskelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Noland,
Yes.
Commissioner Polson,
Yes.
Commissioner Spires.
Yes.
Thank you. And that is unanimous.
I just know something.
Yes, you may.
I did just double check. I just got ahead of myself. I do have both pre-application requirements in there, so for both there. So I did catch that. So never mind.
Not even a surprise.
It wasn't even an issue. I lied.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot.
Okay, any comments from the Planning Commission?
Did you want me to mention that now, or?
Whatever you want. Yeah, whatever you want to discuss. This be the appropriate time. Yeah.
Just if, now my brain isn't remembering the name of the company.
Alpha Customs?
Alpha Customs, if we followed up with them.
Yeah, so I might even defer to Michelle a little bit where appropriate because she did go and do a visit with our team. But we did talk to our code enforcement officer, Steve May. Fought right I think it was like the day after that planning commission meeting, I think, is when we started it, or soon after, right? Was it the day
I
after?
think it was the day after. It
Yeah, I think it was too. Yeah.
was a Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we talked to our code enforcement officer and asked him to kind of do a quick inspection and see what he thought based on your comments. He actually not only drove over there, but he decided to walk around and look around and then came back and reported to us that it did evidence that they were doing more than we expected them to be doing without doing what they were required to do to get a business license and follow through with the requirements. So, they didn't like that too well and came in and had a visit with Michelle to again talk about all the requirements. And maybe I'll defer to you, Michelle, to talk about what your thoughts were of how it went from there.
So there's two owners, the two guys. One came in and one called me. And both of them were adamant that they were told they were good to go. There was nothing else they needed to do. So I explained the process to them again, both of them, got them all calmed down, told them everything else they needed to do. Before this point, I had sent them an email saying, look, you're not running legally. You don't have a business license. I still needed their tax information and a couple other things. They still need to follow up with Public Works. So I sent them an email about that. That's when everything blew up.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It was fun. They called me or came in. I got them all calmed down, figured out what they needed to do, got their tax information. They finally submitted for that. I checked it today. It's valid, active.
You also went and did a site visit with Sean and Jeff.
So we went over there. What we ended up doing was giving them a probationary business license with 45-day review with Public Works and building.
Good.
So there's a few things that they need to do, but they need to be able to make some money so that they can do those things, retrofitting the building. And so it's basically a 6-month probationary, well, really all business licenses are probationary for 6 months. But at the end of 45 days, they'll check with Mr. Douglas. And then if they are going to install a paint booth, eventually they'll have to go through the building process for that. But yeah, 45-day review from last week, and we'll see how it goes from there.
So what activities was they doing that questioned that
Anything, because they didn't have a business license and they
Nothing.
were running a business. So
Running a
that was
business without-
mainly,
If they're making sales or they're transacting merchandise, they're technically
Production.
operating at
Okay.
that point.
so they were working on building these vehicles for sale.
without the license?
Yeah.
You can see it.
I seen activity outside, but I didn't know what they was doing inside. So I figured, that's all I could notice without going inside. But
We also met with the landlord. He was there too that day. So, as of my last involvement, they were working on being compliant, doing everything we asked them
So they do have a business license now.
right now.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's provisional.
Right. Right.
So I can revoke it after 6 months
Yes. Okay.
or before.
Understood.
Okay. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate you guys. Sorry for the,
It was almost all Michelle, honestly, on this one. So
thanks, Michelle.
good job.
Sorry to put more pressure on you.
I don't.
It's neat to see that our city works, that people are paying attention, and our planning commission. I think that's really good, and we have an excellent city staff.
We do.
We
Yes,
really do.
I think we have really a pretty wonderful city.
I think we're fortunate.
Very fortunate. And Mike, Michelle,
Yep.
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I
What you
appreciate
do
it.
is appreciated.
Well, thanks.
Okay,
All right.
if there's nothing else.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. We're adjourned.